Being out of the water can put you in some tricky situations. You always have to keep your head on a swivel and pay attention to everything going on, because if you don't, things might catch up to you, just like some of the instances we'll see in this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to Europe, where weather has played a huge factor, affecting many different ferry services this week. The region had two major storms roll through, bringing winds in excess of 90 miles an hour, wreaking havoc on marine services. The conditions were poor enough that it caused extreme sea states, even in normally calm bodies of water, such as the River Elbe near Hamburg and Finkenwerder. A spokesperson for the operating company claims there was only one minor injury, which is very fortunate because this situation absolutely could have been a lot worse. But this wasn't the only ferry to experience trouble during the storms this past week. This was a pretty common scene. Images like this were popping up everywhere, just like this ferry here, which is battling gusts up to 80 miles an hour as it tries to come into port. Here, the Red Funnel Ferry Company's vessel, the Red Falcon, was filmed coming back into Southampton. Fortunately, a very skilled captain was able to get this vessel under control and put onto the dock safely without causing any injuries or any damage to the vessel. Our next story to make the boating news this week, well, if you're not aware, the car market's on fire and many vehicles have a long wait time. And that's not about to change anytime soon, as this past week the car-carrying vessel Felicity Ace caught fire carrying approximately $401 million worth of Porsches, Audis, Bentleys, and Lamborghinis. The Felicity Ace caught a blaze near the Azores. The vessel was carrying approximately 4,000 cars at the time of the fire. The vessel had 22 crew members on board. Fortunately, all were evacuated. The Felicity Ace was traveling from Emden, Germany, where Volkswagen has a factory, to Davisville, Rhode Island, and according to early reports, of the $400 million worth of cars that were on board the vessel, approximately half belonged to parent company Volkswagen, who happens to own Lamborghini, Porsche, Audi, and Bentley. A statement issued by the parent company that owns the Felicity Ace claims there are two firefighting tugs en route to help put out the blaze, but they also claim that the vessel is in stable condition and not leaking oil. But unfortunately, it's highly unlikely that many of the vehicles on board the vessel will be able to be salvaged, which is going to lead to longer than normal wait times. Many people were already waiting upwards of 8 months for vehicles that were on board this vessel, and many are likely going to have to get back in line. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to the Bahamas, where what was supposed to be a nice day out on the water fishing quickly turned into a nightmare when the motor vessel Shearwater contacted the Coast Guard, reporting a 51-year-old man on board had been bitten by a shark while the crew was fishing. Fortunately, the captain and crew had medical training and were able to successfully place a tourniquet on the victim's arm, preventing further blood loss. When Coast Guard Air Station Miami crew arrived, they found the victim to be in stable condition, and they were successfully able to hoist the man up to the helicopter and transfer him to awaiting emergency medical personnel at Jackson Memorial Hospital, where the man currently is in stable condition. At the time of publishing this, there's not a whole lot more details about the actual attack itself or exactly what happened, but this really is a nightmare situation, being stranded out in the middle of the ocean and suffering a severe injury. Fortunately, the crew acted fast, and so did the Coast Guard, likely saving the victim's life. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us back over to the coast of Florida, where this was a little bit of a strange scene this past week, as this is the U.S. Coast Guard cutter James, and this is approximately 70,000 pounds or $1 billion worth of narcotics that have been seized over the last several months. This is currently the largest seizure for the Coast Guard cutter James to date. The seizures occurred from multiple Eastern Pacific and Caribbean Sea interdictions over the past several months. And it really is wild just to see the sheer volume of this on the deck of the vessel. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and let me know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Christian Dressen, Michael Lewis, Florian Meyer, and Ronan Strong did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here. If not, we're coming to steal your drain plug.